You know what? It is time that I make this video series into a yearly thing. I am making up for 2025. In this video series, I did challenges that, due to the deadlines of the video or how short the challenges were, go into a collection of challenges in one video. I have 3 challenges that range from being least complete to be even thought of being included in a full video to so close to getting its own video, but I decided it wasn't interesting enough last minute and decided for this challenge to be the big one on the thumbnail. This video series was inspired by Shyguymask I. Without further ado, let's go! Not good. Antonball. I like to think of this game as a Mario Bros. Arcade of Anton Blast. Still an alright game, but the successor is a vastly superior game. Now you know Breakout, the game with the bumper thing that you have to destroy all the blocks with? It's like that, but as a platformer. Originally, I wanted this to be a short video before the release of Anton Blast when that came out in December of 2024. But due to the failures of what we will see shortly, that is not the case. So are you ready to play with your balls? You better be! The rules are self-explanatory. Don't move left or right. The first mode we will be attempting is Antonball mode. Now here, I will be using multiplayer to have a chance of beating this challenge. 1 Anton, 1 Annie, and 1 Danton. He will be murdered later. Antonball starts off with Anton drinking cola? No, this can't be right. It needs to be alcohol. Maybe this is what happens when Anton turns to alcohol. Now Anton is heading home and falls into the boiler sewers, and has to get back up by punching balls to bricks, and I recommend just skipping the tutorial, and we should be good. We start with boiler sewers. Now phase 1 was really boring. All you really have to do is double jump as one of the characters, with 1 jumping in the front and 1 jumping in the back, and just bounce the balls into the bricks, and the only other thing you can do is once you get the gun in which you can shoot more bricks. And what do you know? Phase 2 was the same but a different layout. It was at this point when I thought to myself if I should include this into the Anton Blast video instead, and what you know, Phase 3 and 4 were the same thing. Phase 5, however, is where things start to get a little interesting with the ball busters. As for some reason, if you take damage as any character, everyone dies on screen. But it made more sense considering that because there are more players, it would have made the game a lot easier. So having that punishment is fair. Also, for some reason, Danton can join Anton on this platform, leaving Annie guarding the bottom and being vulnerable to the ball busters, which they are basically impossible to jump over because you don't have any forward momentum. But this level is over with quickly, and we immediately failed the bonus game. Oh well, we just move on to Jam Jungle, and I will change out the characters for every map, and this is totally not an excuse for me to have more lives. Phase 7 was pretty simple to deal with, as there wasn't really anything stopping us. Phase 8 was super tedious. You can aim using the up and down arrow, which makes controlling the ball a lot more manageable. And you are going to want to do this with this very phase. But after like 2 minutes or so, it's over with. Phase 9 had the same issue, only this time there was the throw Gorky, which drops bananas on the players. However, this move is entirely useless as we can't move left or right. Phase 10 is where I decided that yes, the video should be put into this very video. It was over with quickly. Phase 11 was rather easy, and we failed the bonus minigame once again. And we can move on to Fudge Mountain, and this is the part of the game where the level design starts to turn on us. In Phase 13, the players in the very back cannot do much as the frozen solid platforms is stopping them from just jumping. And that means that the front player has to do everything, but in this case it's useless. Your lives will drain easily, I lost over and over again until I lost all of my lives and had to use up a continue, and by some miracle made it to the next phase. But phase 14 is where I quit this challenge. I lost my last life and that was that. So even if I were to retry the stage, I would have to suffer through phase 13. I even went to Punchball to think of something else, because you kinda have to move left and right here. But I didn't want to do another Player 2 Does Nothing challenge, as this game was pretty short, and it wasn't possible to beat Antonball without moving to begin with, considering the final boss. It was just not worth finishing. Well, that's why I decided to put this idea to this video instead of the Anton Blast video. The challenge was a very sucky idea. However, this is the first challenge of the video, and it will keep getting interesting from here. Megaman. Now I have written this script before Dual Override was revealed, and that's pretty exciting. I even made my own Robot Master. I don't know, I just wanted to show off Culinary Man. Back on topic. Recently, from this video being posted, I have done a Megaman challenge, where I had to get the lowest score possible in the first game, as it had a really weird scoring system, and I based that video off of the Retro Dude's video on the scoring system of that game. And in the video, he does mention the Wily Wars, which was a remaster of the first 3 Mega Man games on Sega Genesis, on one cartridge. Or more specifically, the Sega channel here in America until we got the physical release by Limited Run Games. But my point is that in his video, he mentions that the Wily Wars version of Mega Man 1 has a really weird bug that doesn't add score in a certain part. Now, what is this part, you might ask? Well, please finish the segment first. Let's strap on our Mega Busters and power shot our way through this. Alright, if there's not many changes from the original challenge levels, then I will go over it very briefly, as you can just watch that video instead. Now for the rules. We just have to get the score to as low as we can. And to do that, we cannot defeat an enemy, as it will give us points upon being defeated. And we have to traverse around it in any other way. The enemies also drop these score balls, which are pretty useless to begin with. Now, because this is a video on the Does Not Deserve Its Own video series, that means I can cut some corners that I would usually not allow myself to do. And that is to ignore the game over reset rule, as Wily Wars Mega Man behaves differently from the original game, in which in some areas it's great, and in some other areas where it's not good, or just overall strange. I will not use save states at all, as that is not as much as an issue as it was for the original game. The pause exploit and the turbo button aren't a thing in the Wily Wars version, so that's not a problem at all. Now, I will display the actual score when the score is not accurate, and we are good to start this challenge. As usual, I start with Gutsman, and oh, lucky, I got the lowest points I need to beat this level. I then appreciate that the Sega Genesis makes this section less of a pain in the damage boost through a ton of enemies and avoid the big eye, and we easily defeat Gutsman, and we get our first 50,000 points. What is nice about the Wily Wars is that you don't have to do Mega Man 1 in one run, and you can actually save your progress for all 3 games, instead of having to use the password, so that's convenient. Now we will start Cutman, and oh, 70,000 points. Well, I'll try to use save states. Oh yeah, this is before I completely abolished the use of them. Back to what I was saying. Still 70,000 points? Well, one more time, and still 70,000 points. Okay, how about another Robot Master? Nothing is working. What if I just restart the game? Okay. Now it's 50,000 points, but my score is reset. Well, nothing I can really do about that. So now you know why I cut some corners here. For some reason, when you reset the game, the first boss you select will always be 50,000, unlike the original game, which just randomly, willy-nilly chose them. Well, all we have left to do is continue with Cutman. Get through the level while damage boosting past everything, and then die to regenerate health, and then quickly go through the level and beat Cutman with a rock, and we obtain another 50,000 points. Then restart the game after saving, and then we move on to Elecman. And then struggle with the verticality, and not fall for this health pickup. And then use the super arm to get the magnet beam. And then continue on upwards and let this flea die. And then we make it to the top and cut Elecman's wires and receive another 50,000 points. Then restart and head on over to Iceman. And then get destroyed by the crazy Razies, and then make it to the cave and suffer through the disappearing tiles on the wall. Yet I keep falling off of them. Magnet beam over all of that nonsense, and then fall down the cave and electrocute Iceman and gain another 50,000 points. Then restart once again, and then proceed to Fireman. Carefully jump and avoid all the fire, and just magnet beam past parts you just don't like. And damage boost past the fire, and then cool down Fireman. And then we obtain yet another 50,000 points. Restart the game one last time, then we target Bomb Man. And then we carefully avoid everything, picking up health upgrades, and then suffering with the Sniper Joes, and then magnet beam away from them, and then make it to the drop, and I totally did this first try. And we blow up Bomb Man's fuse and gain the final 50,000 points. Now you might be thinking, there's nothing new with all of this. And to that, you would be right. What really changes is during the Wily stages. Wily Stage 1 starts off as usual, however, for some reason in the Wily Wars version of all three classic Megaman games, is that once you pick up an item, it's gone forever until you get it a game over. Whereas in the original game, it was an easy way to grind for health and weapon energy. So the devs likely thought that this was a bug, when in fact it was probably accounted for when designing those games. Like this part here near the end of Wily Stage 1, where there are weapon pickups for the magnet beam if you screw up in the original. However, here in the Wily Wars, you have to do it perfectly the first time, or else you are screwed. Which is one of my only few complaints with this remaster. So after that, we make it to the Yellow Devil, and we do it legitimately. And honestly, once you memorized his pattern, he is really not hard to deal with. And we get 100,000 points for defeating him. Now, where the challenge starts to get different is Wily Stage 2. Damage boost past the Bladers, but because they're being assholes, I'll call them Bladders. Fight Cutman with Firestorm, as for some reason the Mega Buster doesn't really do as much damage as it did in the original, so this is harder. And for some reason, after being defeated, the boss does not give us 10,000 points after the rematch, like the original game. Yeah, that's basically it. It just basically saves 60,000 points from the total score. I wonder why this segment is in this video. Well, for some reason, I spent triple the time on Wily Stage 2 than literally any other level in this entire game combined. So I always just use the magnet beam at the start to avoid all the bladders, and for some reason they disappear out of existence. And make sure not to fall down to the spikes and memorize Cutman's pattern, then avoid some more bullets, and then refill Firestorm because you will need it later. Try to attempt to beat the Elecman refight, and then, if you barely have any health left, just carefully jump around the bombs, and then die and respawn with all health, and grab the 1-up. And then go down to refill Firestorm. And then we make it to the hardest boss in this challenge, the Copy Robot. And just burn the Faker to death, and we get another 100,000 points. And the rest of the challenge is straightforward. Wily Stage 3 is dang short, so just damage boost past everything, and we make it to CWU01P, where we just have to destroy the first 3 with the Mega Buster and then the rest with the Super Arm, that's it. Though we still, strangely enough, still only get 70,000 points. Wily Stage 4 is easy, as all you have to do is damage boost past a few enemies, and then get the 1-up with the Yashichi, which refills all health and weapon energy, and then we blow Bomb Man's fuse, Cool Down, Fireman, Shocked Iceman, and Bombed Gutsman, in which I found the Hyper Bomb in the Wily Wars to be much more useful, but that's not saying much as it's still kinda useless. And then we make it to Wily Machine 1, and then we burn it down and then electrocute it. And then Wily will beg for mercy, and we receive the final 200,000 points. And the challenge is over. Rock goes home, and that's the end of Mega Man 1. Now our final score is a grand total of 700,700 points, with the NES version having 800,000, 30,000 points, which we just saved 60,000 points, which isn't a lot, but that was underwhelming. Well, I beat the challenge. Oh yeah, I forgot, Wily Tower is here. I mean, I have to beat the other 2 games, so I'll start with Mega Man 2. Not as good as 4 or 9 in my opinion, but it's still a good game either way. Alright, I'll start with Heatman. I challenged the disappearing tiles on the wall, but again, I'm falling off of them. If only if I had the item number 2, it would make it so much easier to beat this level. Alright, I'll start with Airman then. Well, that wasn't so hard. Shoot, I need to finish the rest of the video. I'll do this another time then. Ba-ding. Ba-ding. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Mario Kart World. I wanted to do a challenge when the game was first released, but I was struggling to come up with an idea because of how many possible ideas I could do. And it came down to follow road laws, or drive using the rear view mirror only. So, with the latter half, that is what I will be doing today. So grab your mushrooms, as we will be driving and not paying attention to the road. The rules are more straightforward than the intermission tracks. Just have the rear view mirror on at all times. So I will be using the Pro Controller's back buttons so that my hands don't get tired. My goal is to get above 4th place overall to be more challenging, as I doubt I will get 1st place. But anything below 4th place just isn't interesting. I will be using Smart Steering because there is no way I can keep my eyes on the road, and I can't really look at the map since there's 24 racers on the map. I'm also using Auto Accelerate because I am already hurting my hands to beat this game, so I don't want to have to hold down another button the whole time. Rewind is also not allowed because that is lame. I will be doing all of the Grand Prix and Knockout Rallies, and briefly summarize them all, so without further ado, let's get driving while avoiding all conventional laws. We are starting with the Mushroom Cup, which starts with Mario Bros. Circuit. Now, the most notable thing throughout this entire run overall is that your controls are inverted with horizontal and vertical movement on the left stick, which does take some time to get used to. And another problem is that we cannot really drift, as we can't really determine where turns are. And I don't want to have to study hours upon hours of memorizing every single track. However, everything is worthless once you realize that the whole game strategy relies you on being a certain place during the race, and using your items wisely if you are further in the back of the race where you get better items. I will not explain the statistics on this, as I'm pretty sure there's already videos that are out there that explain this better than I could. My main advice is to use your item when you feel like it's the right time to use said item. I know that statement sounds absolutely ridiculous, but it's true. I use up items like the coin, spiny shell, question block, chemical orb, and shock as soon as I get it. But with the speed items, I wait until I can get off-road and then look at the map to pass many racers. And offensive items, I mainly aim behind me. Although it does seem ridiculous that there is a slight benefit that when you do get the items, you can get better at sabotaging the racers behind you, unless if it's a homing item, in which if I'm absolutely sure that there's a player in front of me, I will attack. With my strategy out of the way, how are the actual levels? Well, that part is way less interesting, because the game pretty much plays it for me. Yeah, I wonder why this is here. Mario Bros. Circuit is a really easy course, as all you have to do is cut some corners where you need to, and use your items at the right time. I like to be in the middle of the pack of the racers, such as 12th place, so that I can get good items, but I'm not too far behind on the race. And then when it becomes lap 3, I clock the hell in, and try to get into the top 4 of racers, and try to boost my way there, and it usually works out. And that is the first race of many. Love it or hate it, we are starting the intermission tracks. Starting with Crown City, and you will have to have a different approach with these tracks, as if you lag too far behind, that will be a heavy disadvantage for you. So try to go as fast as you can muster without getting too far ahead, to the point where you only get the boomerang flower. And that sucks! I mostly recommend on tracks like these to stay on the road, as the grind rails and the walls are not worth it, as you will miss item boxes, and items are very important to this challenge. Then after we make it to the main course, we just have to do one lap, and that's really it. It's rather short, so just pull all the bells and whistles that you have, and even if you don't get 4th place in 1 to 2 races, don't worry, we are working with the scoring system, which works like this. We have 4 races, and your placement in a particular race gives you a certain amount of points, as listed here. Now, as long as you get above 38 points, you should be fine. Now we move on to the intermission for Whistletop Summit. This track is a bit easier with the rails on the railway, but all you have to do is be careful, as you cannot see any obstacle ahead of you. So pay close attention to the other racers' movements, and if they go away from somewhere, you should also probably follow, as there's probably danger in front of you. Once we make it to the main track, I recommend riding on rails, as it will steer you into the right direction, and it will give you item boxes. And do some cool tricks that speed you up slightly, and that's another race complete. Now we can head on to DK Spaceport. And this track is so much linear than a lot of tracks in this game, so I recommend bringing along a mushroom to force smart steering with you to pass on the grass while using mushrooms to pass a ton of racers. And the climb through the track might seem ridiculous because you can't see the barrels, but quite literally believe in yourself to get through all this. And we assert our dominance over the giant DK robot and take that juicy 2nd place that Luigi is known for. And we have completed the Mushroom Cup. Next cup we will be tackling is the Flower Cup, in which it starts off with Desert Hills, which is not too bad as long as you stay on the main path and avoid the middle part of the level with the sinking sand, but overall you should be good. Next track is Shy Guy Bazaar, in which we use the same strategy as we did for the other intermission tracks, which is to go into the middle, do some sick tricks while gliding, as it will earn us some stylish points. And then we make it to the track, in which I think it's bizarre that Shy Guys have an entire town, let alone go outside in said town, but it was a track. Yeah, get ready for me to not give very interesting information on the tracks. Next race heads to Wario Stadium. I want to comment on the Ice Flower and the Fire Flower when the other racers are behind you attacking, as it's a very interesting attack to dodge, as you have to move slightly, which, mind you, have the inverted controls, and have to dodge very carefully, but even if you do get hit, it's easy to recover from, but that's really all I have that is interesting to say. This track was quick to get through, and we end the race on another 2nd place. And now we head on to Airship Fortress. And good luck avoiding the chain chomps with navigating a vast plane, as if you get too sidetracked, you will take too long to get back to the main course, to the point where you will be sent below 12th place oftentimes. So abuse the power of looking at the map and noticing the next turns during these situations. The track itself was a little annoying with the rocky wrenches, but nothing to really worry about. And we end the cup at 2nd place right behind Daisy. Hey, Luigi just has to do what he has to do. But we finished the Fireflower Cup. Now for the next cup, we will be starting the Knockout Tours with the Golden Mushroom Rally. Now the Knockout Tours are more interesting than the Grand Prix in my opinion, as it's one long race, and the competitive nature of this mode I find way more interesting. And I think this mode works better with an open world Mario Kart. In this mode, there are 5 checkpoints, which you have to be in a specific place rank-wise to proceed to the next checkpoint, with the main goal to making it to the final lap in the top 4, and then aiming for first during the last lap. So during all these races, I recommend trying to get into the front if you can, as if you lag behind, then you are done for. Take full advantage of the shortcuts like through this mud with a couple of mushrooms during checkpoint 2, where we can go straight forward and avoid having to turn. Now we encounter a new problem, where some courses with things like water, mud, or sinking sand, smart steering quite doesn't go around it, but rather seems to go with it, which is a huge issue to this challenge, as that means we will have to be lagging behind if we do not have any items to move quickly. But other than that, just forcing forward through Mario Circuit, as I found that to be the most difficult. One last piece of advice for these types of races is abusing being in minimum last place, as you are more likely to get speed items so that you can blast past the other racers. We then make it to the final stretch in Acorn Heights, and we claim our good enough award, thus clearing the Golden Mushroom Rally. Next up is the Ice Rally, and from here on out, I will have basically nothing interesting to say. Just brute force through everything with smart steering, take shortcuts with speed items, become a bat, get hit by every car that you can come across, and once you are about to take first place, hit a wall and end up getting 4th place. And that's the Ice Rally complete. Back to the Grand Prix, we will be doing the Star Cup. DK Summit was a little annoying with missing the item boxes halfway through the track, which was a bit frustrating because it happened consistently. But other than that, it was pretty simple. Starview Peak was rather boring to get through. I was just listening to an Iceberg video because I was just so bored. All it really was to take shortcuts where you can, and now I wing it to victory. Sky High Sunday. Now I kind of find this course interesting because of its inclusion in Mario Kart 8's DLC and Mario Kart Tour, and those versions feeling very incomplete. Almost like a beta build to this version, but that's all I really have to say about this level. And we make it to Wario Shipyard. I mean, trick off the waves and just do what feels natural, and the Star Cup is already over. So we will be immediately skipping to the next cup, that being the Shell Cup, starting with Koopa Troopa Beach, in which it has that issue with smart steering not being helpful, so do keep that in mind and try to force yourself as close to the track as you can. Faraway Oasis is another straightforward drive. You might want to be careful with the waterfall section, but before you know it, you are off to Crown City, in which we recognize patterns on the road for speed boosts, and getting lucky with mushroom pickups, and finally heading to Peach Stadium, and it was Peach Stadium. A painfully mediocre track. And then we complete the Shell Cup. And now we will be starting the Moon Rally, in which we fly down from the castle and say hello to the Big Donut, and then move on with our lives. And then blink, and then we've already made it to Dandelion Depths. Then we get lucky with the next few pools, and we wing our way to Faraway Oasis. And then complete the Moon Rally. And then we move on to the Spiny Rally, where we get spooked by cool Bowser, and then get Mario Karted. And then I blink once and we finished Wario's Shipyard, finishing the Spiny Rally. Now what if I were to tell you we are already halfway through completing the challenge? Crazy, I know! Next cup is the Banana Cup, and we will be tackling this as Extra Italian Luigi. Just get through Peach Beach, Little Italy, and then look at the Yoshi ancestors. Then don't fall in the question block ruins. And that's all I have to say about this cup. Hopefully the Leaf Cup is more interesting. I mean, Cheap Falls is pretty, I guess. Dandelion Depths, just be careful about the water. As for Boo Cinema, just wing it, I guess. And then for Dry Bones Burnout, just be cautious about the lava, and the Leaf Cup is over. Okay, one more cup before we go back to the knockout courses. Finally, we have the Lightning Cup. I really want to call it the Thunder Cup, but, I'm trying to go with the actual name, so oh well. Moo Moo Meadows is just a great course as always. Choco Mountain was unfortunately rather forgettable in this rendition of it. Toad's Factory was simple, though you might want to pay attention to where the other racers are going to avoid the piston traps. Gonna fail health inspection, Toad. And then we make it to Bowser's Castle. Say hello to the Big Donut and then move on with our lives, and oh, we're already done with 3 more Grand Prix already. It's rather unfortunate how the longer this challenge goes on, the less interesting it gets. Let's start the Cherry Rally. Other than the unfortunate horn timing, catching up was a little stressful, but that's all I really have to say about this rally. Next up is Acorn Rally, in which Luigi hits every car possible on his way to Peach Stadium, and that's it, unfortunately. Then we have the Cloud Flower Rally, and Luigi's ramming into wildlife, but other than that, there's really nothing else. And to end the knockout rallies, we have the Heart Rally. And from the last couple of rallies, you know it's not going to be interesting, unfortunately. All I have to say is that DK was a stupid monkey and threw Luigi off the grass, and we lost to Daisy again. Okay. The Grand Prix Cups combined to become the Special Cup, and now Rainbow Road is back. Okay, let's just get this over with. Finally, we have the Special Cup. And we were screwing up while in Acorn Heights, but clutched it towards the end. Next course is Mario Circuit, and the track is very tight with its turns to replicate what it was like on the Super Nintendo, so do be careful there. And then we head to Peach Stadium. Boring! Nothing interesting here. And finally, we are going to Rainbow Road. And I see the light! And we can't quite appreciate the visuals for this iteration of Rainbow Road because we can't see ahead of Luigi. So, oh well. Okay, I take that back. The final lap was alright, and we even got first place. So, that's cool. And that was Mario Kart World. Unfortunate that it wasn't very interesting past the first couple of races, but it had to end up here. But what can you do? Now that we have completed all the courses while looking behind us, we will now be arrested for driving under substances. Better luck next time, Luigi. That's what you get for using smart steering and auto acceleration for the challenges. And eating a little too many mushrooms while driving. I'm a Luigi. Oh well. Well, this is the end of another ZeevGreen's challenges that don't deserve their own video. Thank you for watching. I might release the next one later this year if I have any more uninteresting challenges. Thank you for watching. See you whenever the hell I decide to upload.